You know, rubber straps are nice, water resistant, but also they're kind of a little bit too sporty. And leather straps, yeah, you know, they're nice and elegant, but you can't really get them wet. And in the summer, if it's humid, forget about it. It'd be nice if there was something sort of in the middle. Hi everyone and welcome to Shaluso, and today we are talking about sailcloth straps. I'd like to give a big shout out to Artem Straps, who have actually provided me with all the straps featured throughout this video. Full disclosure, I got them for free, so bear that in mind as you watch the video. However, all the opinions in this are indeed my own, and the positives and negatives will still be featured as on every review that I have on this channel. And of course, if you like any of the straps that you see throughout this video, make sure you check out the links in the description below to go straight to their site. But let's get started in talking about sailcloth straps, and like in anything, we need to start with a little bit of history. Now, despite the fact that they look like they're something that's been around forever, they look super vintage, sailcloth straps themselves are actually a decently new concept. But the idea of using textiles instead of a leather for a strap, that has been around for a very long time. It traces its origins back to World War II with the 1940s, some of the first NATO straps, and then throughout the last few decades, we've seen straps made of nylon, of cordura, of Kevlar, canvas, and of course, sailcloth. Now, sailcloth itself is actually a very generic term. If you go back to the origins of sailboats, you'd be looking at natural fibers like, hemp or flax, whereas in more modern context, you're looking at things like Kevlar or polyester, a lot of the similar materials that have been used in straps on and off over the past few years. But sailcloth as a strap, as a concept at least, being applied onto straps is something that's still relatively new. The best known example is of course the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. But the original 50 Fathoms didn't actually feature a sailcloth strap. That featured leather straps and it featured tropic rubber straps most of the time. It wasn't until the 2007 reintroduction of the new evolution of the 50 Fathoms in which they introduced this idea of a sailcloth strap and then further reinforced it with 2013's Blancpain 50 Fathoms bathyscaphe, which also featured a sailcloth strap as well. And this distinct look, it really caught the imagination and gave the Blancpains especially a distinct look because it had that sort of vintagey appeal, but it was still very rugged, it was still very technical. So it does give it a very distinct look. It hasn't really been emulated by other manufacturers, both in terms of OEM straps or in terms of aftermarket. So where does Artem fit into all this? Well, in 2019, Artem was founded and they started doing research on how to fill this gap. Like I said before, there's not a lot of options on the aftermarket or even in the OEM segment for sailcloth straps. And even the ones that are, a lot of them don't really do it right. Some of them are just stamped materials, a stamped leather, a stamped rubber. Some of them will have that sort of effect, but then they'll have leather lining, which kind of defies the point. Because one of the biggest advantages to a sailcloth strap is the water resistance. The fact that it's something that still has a bit more elegance than something like a rubber strap, but it's still perfectly water resistant. When I was filming some of the footage that you're seeing right now, I actually had my Omega sitting in a pool of water for a better part of an hour, and this in like 2 minutes was dry. This I think is a great advantage, especially right now in the Northern Hemisphere, at least coming into summer. If it's hot, if it's humid, you don't want to be wearing something that's leather lined because it's nasty. So on these, the fact they have a rubber line coating on the inside, I think is a great detail because it means that they're comfortable all year round. Something like this would be great not only on a diver like the Seamaster, like 50 Fathoms, but also on things like an Aquaterra or a Yachtmaster. Things that were designed for that notion of, not hardcore diving, but instead being on the open seas on a yacht. Or for those of us who aren't quite on the yachting tax bracket yet, even something as simple as going to the beach. I think this is a great option for you to go straight from the beach to the boardroom, as they say. Maybe not full on formal, but even just from the beach to not having to change your strap when you get home and change into your normal day-to-day clothes. It's a great option for that due to the water resistance that it gets from the nature of the material on top, but also because it is rubber lined on the bottom. Sailcloth is a very abrasive material. It's not something comfortable on the skin, so the fact that they have that buffer I think is a great attention to detail and makes the straps a lot more comfortable without compromising one of their key advantages, which is the water resistance. The second big advantage to sailcloth straps in my view is their distinctive look in general. As the watch market grows, as more and more enthusiasts come to the market, you can look even just over the last few years. NATO straps, everyone and their mother has them. Rubber straps, we have to thank Hublot, we have to thank the Oyster Flex, Audemars Piguet on the offshore. Rubber straps have become part of the modern watch buying culture, especially if you want something that you can take into the water, for example. Leather straps, of course, have been around for the majority of the existence of the wristwatch, and bracelets the same thing. Sailcloth straps, like I mentioned before, they're still a very new concept, which means that it's a great way to really give your watch a distinct look and make it look completely different. I've said many a time, I don't really like my Steinhardt that much anymore because it looks too much like a Rolex. Something like this, it puts it in a different category completely. It really changes the identity of it because it's such a distinctive look, because it's something that we're not used to seeing on a regular basis. So I think that distinctive look, something that is a little bit more elegant than a rubber strap, maybe not as formal as a leather strap, but also doesn't have the disadvantage of making the watch a little bit higher like on a NATO strap. And it has that very utilitarian and tactical look, especially when you look in something like the black on black stitching or the black on gray stitching like I put on my Seamaster. It really makes it look rugged and tooly, but not so much to the point where you're limited in terms of how you can use it. And then the last advantage specific to these Artem straps, and this is probably some of the highest praise I can give to an aftermarket strap, is this feels like an OEM strap. I've tested all sorts of straps over the last few years, experimenting with my own watches, and definitely you can see that there are differences in terms of the quality you get. Obviously you can get cheaper straps, but very rarely do you get to the point where it feels like it's something that you could have gotten straight from the manufacturer. And I've also dabbled in buying straps directly from manufacturers, so I do have a bit of experience in terms of what's the standard that something like an Omega would do, like with their NATO straps, for example, versus a $10 NATO. And it's a similar sort of thing with this, in that it feels like an OEM strap. What do I mean by that? I mean the attention to detail. I already mentioned the rubber lining on the inside, the precise cutting for the holes. There's no little fibers coming out. The fact that there's no fraying in general. I'm not sure exactly what fiber they use to make these. However, it doesn't really fray. I've had these for about 2 weeks now and been using them every day, and there's no sign of anything fraying or sort of coming apart like you might on something like a cordura, for example. And the packaging you receive it is still a bit of a special occasion as well. It's not over the top, but it's not just a random plastic sleeve, and that's considering I got these for free. They had no reason to send me full-on packaging, but they wanted to showcase the attention to detail that they do even in terms of that. And it's a nice, simple box, but it makes it a little bit more of an event. And that, again, comes down to comparing it to something like an OEM strap. When I received my Omega strap, it came in just a little cardboard box with the strap on the inside and obviously with the plastic on everything. When I received my OEM Tudor strap, that was just a plastic box. So that level of attention to detail, I think, again, contributes to it. It makes it more than just a random accessory. It makes it feel a lot more part of your watch. And especially when you're talking luxury watches, every little detail like that contributes. Even when you look at the buckle itself has a nice differential finish to it. It has different facets to it. They could have easily put all of their effort into the strap itself and then just gone with a run-of-the-mill buckle off of an assembly line. But even in this, they've bothered to design it and put some effort in towards making it something special. That being said, of course, nothing is perfect, and we need to talk about the negatives as well. While this is maybe something a little bit more elegant than, say, a rubber strap and not as utilitarian as maybe a NATO, this still isn't a replacement for a leather strap. If you want to go for something formal, you will need to go for a leather strap because this doesn't quite fit that bill. It is a little bit too technical for that. Is that the end of the world? No, but it is something to be aware if you're thinking this is going to be your only strap, for example. Secondly, while I do like the finish on the buckle, I think that maybe it looks a little bit too Blancpain in my opinion. That being said though, they do offer options for deployment style clasps, which admittedly also do look a bit like the Omega ones. I personally on my Seamaster poured on one of my Omega clasps just because I prefer that format. But I think maybe just the fact that because sailcloth straps are only really otherwise associated with Blancpain, I think having a Blancpain style buckle may have been a bit on the nose. And then the last disadvantage is on this particular one that I've got on my Steinhardt with the white stitch. I do think it brings out a little bit more of the shine, and in my view that doesn't seem as premium. However, that's just a play of the light. It's not actually a lacking in quality thing, and if you prefer that more stealth look, you do have the option of the black stitching or the gray stitching to give it a bit more of that stealth look and to mute down a little bit of that shine. But if I'm honest, these are all very small things. In the grand scheme, this is a very well executed strap, and you can tell they actually took the time to develop it. And they've continued to evolve it as well. They've just recently released new colors for the stitching, and I'm hoping to see maybe if in the future they release new colors for the actual base strap itself. Now, of course, we need to talk about the price of this thing. As I mentioned, these aren't the cheapest straps in the world because they're not trying to be. They're trying to create value and something that actually matches a watch and feels as special as a luxury watch, as opposed to something that's simply the cheapest on the market. So these at current US prices are currently selling for $98 US, and they do ship internationally, so you can check for your own local pricing as well. And how does that really stack up? Well, on the face of it, you might think, oh, but I can get a two-piece strap in a textile for as little as what, 10, 15 US. But if you think about it, really the standard that this is at, it's not competing with that sort of thing because of the attention to detail that they put in it. As I said before, I would compare this more with OEM straps. And if you look at the pricing, for example, on the strap for an IWC Top Gun, that you're looking at about 150 US without the buckle. Or if you look at something like Omega, their NATO straps sell for about 160 US. So I'm imagining the new nylon two-piece strap that you can find on the new Speedmaster would probably run about the same. And that is lined with leather instead of rubber, so good luck taking that swimming. And of course, we need to think about what the pricing for Blancpain is. Well, Blancpain doesn't actually have an outright online store for their straps. However, doing a bit of research, I found them for around 300 US. I don't know if that includes the buckle or not. My guess, as with most OEM straps, they do them without the buckle when they sell them. So that gives you a bit of context as to the amount of value you're getting into this, and to how it compares with some of the OEM suppliers. And it offers a great variation, something to really change the personality of your watch in a way that some of these other straps don't, or in a way that at least we're not used to seeing because sailcloth straps just aren't that prevalent. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of sailcloth straps? Have you used them in the past? What do you think of the idea of these being sort of a nice best of both worlds for anything other than, say, a leather strap for being super formal? And what would you like to see in the future for something like a sailcloth strap? And what watch do you think would pair best with a sailcloth strap? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. And again, another big thanks to Artem Straps for sending in all three of these straps that are featured throughout this video. If you want to check out those, as well as some of the new color variations they have with colored stitching, make sure you check out the links in the description below. If you like the straps and want to see more pictures of them, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Shaluso, where you'll see those as well as all the other pictures and infographics that I feature throughout my channel. And of course, if you want to see more watch videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell as well so you know when the next video comes out. In any case, thanks for watching this video, and we'll catch you on the next one.